Welcome to Buckets, coming to you from the Tommy John Home Studios. My name's Matt Moore. I'm the senior NBA writer for the Action Network. I'm joined by Gilles Gallant at GDog5000, Chris Raybon at Chris Raybon, and Kyle Murray at KMurDFS, who, by the way, had a great breakdown of the PGA's US Open that you should go check out right now on the Action Network app. We're going to do best bets for Game 3 of the NBA Finals between the Indiana Pacers and the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Thunder looking to retake home court advantage. The Pacers looking to go up 2-1 and continue what has been a storybook postseason for them. The market's been fascinating. The props are fascinating. We've got plays on all sorts of stuff, including one guy needs to make one little three. Just one little three for one of our guys for a 10-1 parlay, as long as the other things hit too. Everything we talk about today can be found in the award-winning Action Network app. It's the best way for you to track your picks with a pro subscription. You'll get all the information I'm going to talk about today in terms of how the market has moved, where the money is, where the bets are, where the sharp action is, where our bet lab systems indicate that there's value, our projection systems, where the expert picks, so much cool stuff. And you're going to be able to track all sorts of cool stuff on our prop side too, across all sports. You're going to want to check it out. Thanks for joining us at youtube.com/the Action Network. Take a second for me and hit the like and subscribe button. You hear that on every video that you watch. I get it. I totally get it. Can't subscribe to everything. I get it. You're here. You're joining us. We've done pregame shows we're going on 3 rounds now. And we have really, really put a lot of effort into buckets this year. It would help us out so much if you give us a like and subscribe. In the comments, give us your best bets for game 3, and I'll have the fellas give their thoughts on it and break it down at the end of the show when we do open run. We're going to start today with some questions. Then we're going to do the market move. Then we're going to build you an underdog lineup for game 3. We'll do best bets and a parlay at the end before we do open run. Okay. Enough chit chat. Let's get some questions about this one. And this is one that I've been asked a bunch actually this week. And I'm really interested to get people's thoughts on it. This is more of like a feel for the series, better value here when you're trying to weigh how to bet this series. Chris Raybon. Do the Pacers need to win game 3 and 4 to go up 3-1 if they're going to win this series? I.e., most people that we talked to, especially on live at our best bets episode on Wednesday or Tuesday, were saying they expect a split, and we're asking us how to bet it appropriately. Had a great episode. You should listen to that after we get done here. But, Chris, do the Pacers have to win 3 and 4 if they're going to win this series?
No,
Okay.
they don't. That sounds like a cliche to me. Even the split, like the Thunder could just win the 2 games. The Pacers could win the 2 games. Like I feel like you get into trouble when you decide on an outcome of 2 different things before one even happens, and then you try to work backwards. Like you could get into a lot of trouble. I would say the Pacers have been generally playing from ahead in series this postseason. So I think it would, like, this game, I would say, is probably more important for them. If the Thunder go down 2-1 again, then it's like then it's just all the pressure's on them, you know. So I wouldn't say they need to win to go up 3-1, but ideally they would get this one and really put that pressure on the Thunder again, and put pressure on SGA, maybe get in his head. Should I take this midi? Do I want to lose us another game by bricking a midi in the 4th quarter? So and you probably have the refs in your favor for Indiana. So I think this game is the key game.
Okay. Gilles Gallant, what are your thoughts on this and whether or not the Pacers absolutely have to go up 3-1? Is it can they win the series in a come from behind? Can they win the series if it's split 2-2? Can they win a game 7?
Well, of course they can win. Probability wise, probably not if they don't win at least one of these games. It's just going to be that much more difficult to beat the Thunder 4 straight times. That's something that I don't even think they've lost more than 3 games in the entire year, right? So I think that's the main thing, is that right now, when you're betting this series, I think Brian Fonseca did a pretty good breakdown on this, where he was approaching it, where he was like, you know what? I feel like we're going to get a split in this series. I know that we're going to get the Pacers at plus money on both. I'm going to take them tonight, and then I'll readjust based on how this game unfolds. But I do think that the Pacers will get one. I'm just not sure if it's going to be tonight or if it's going to be on game 4.
Kyle, I know this is not really your bag, buddy, but I am going to ask you to go ahead and weigh in here if the Pacers need to grab 3 and 4. The reason I like asking this question is to kind of show like how better you look at these things versus your average sports show, is to like look at like the idea of probability, don't get caught up in cliches, etc. I think those questions are really kind of interesting. One thing I do think that is pretty relevant, so the Thunder have lost twice in a row all year. all year. They've lost twice in a row. Once, in case you're wondering, that was not in the postseason. Do you think that the Pacers need to grab 3 and 4 here if they're going to grab this at plus 400 to win the series?
Yeah, I think these guys kind of broke it down pretty well. It's tough to handcuff this Pacers team because I think they've been defying, the law of physics for, what we expect in these playoff series all postseason essentially. But I do think they it's very important that they do. I think they'll be very behind the eight ball if they don't. And again, like I was very high on this series being a 5 game series in favor of the Thunder, and I think game one went in an extreme, the chaotic fashion that it did, as the Pacers have come to expect in the fourth quarter. So I still think Thunder can easily win this series in five. So for that reason, I think that it's very, very important the Pacers do win both of these games at home. But to say that they absolutely need to, especially with what they've been able to do when they've been put into, precarious positions in the postseason so far, I do think is a little bit of an aggressive take, but I do think it's very, very important that they take both.
21 players have played across game one and two. 21. And yes, there were obviously some garbage time minutes at the end of game two. But in game one, we just saw some just like wild rotations. Like when AJ Mitchell checked into that game, my phone blew up. I got like 5 texts just with AJ Mitchell? Question mark, exclamation mark. 21 players have played. I've set the number at 18 and a half tonight based off of the rotations for both of these teams. My essential question here is, does either team and or both teams shorten the rotation tonight? Gilles, over under 18 and a half players see playing time tonight. And I'll even put the caveat in here of, okay, let's assume outside of the last 2 minutes to get removed garbage time of this, 18 and a half players. Do you think over under?
I think that's an important caveat because we know 9 players are going to play on the Pacers. You're going to have the starting lineup. Obi Toppin, McConnell, Mathurin, and Shepard are all going to get minutes. It's more about, does Thomas Bryant or Tony Bradley get minutes? And I'm not sure. They're getting phased out as the series goes on anyway. If you see James Johnson on the court, it's probably because he's trying to fight somebody, not actually checked into the game. But from a Thunder standpoint, that's where it gets tricky because if you start seeing the other Jalen Williams and you start seeing big minutes for Kendrick Williams, like, yeah, that number could go way over, especially if we add that 2 minute part back at the end of the fourth quarter where we could see some of these rotation players. But if we're just taking away those final 2 minutes and we assume it's within 10 points on both sides, I think 18 is probably a very sharp number where we'll see it.
All right, Kyle Murray, over under 18 and a half. Curious based off of your projections, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I'll take the under here. I think we saw a couple comments where Carlisle was sort of alluding to maybe seeing a shorter rotation as well. And I think based on the way these two teams have sort of played in the series, we've seen some strange names out there on the floor, like you mentioned. So I will take the under here, especially considering the caveat where if the game does go sideways, blowout minutes, take those off the board. I'll feel pretty comfortable with the under 18 and a half. It's a good line though.
Chris Raybon, over under 18 and a half players tonight. What do you think?
Smash the over. I would smash the over. Right. The Thunder are they. I think they're gonna play Kendrick Williams. I think they're gonna play. I think Joe gets minutes at least in the first half. Wiggins is gonna get in the game. And then you still got Caruso. You still got Hart off the bench. That's 10 for them. And then the Pacers are gonna play 4 guys, and Thomas Bryant, I think, would be the biggest question mark, but he would be the 20th. So I think it would be 19. I do think Shepard will get minutes especially because I think Wiggins is going to get minutes and he's been good on Wiggins. So I think they'll probably want to match them up. And also you got to remember both of these teams. What have we been seeing as the key for both of these teams in the media? And they've been saying it too. We got to get in the paint. We got to get in the paint. What does that mean? Potential foul trouble for guys. So yeah, I would smash the over. I think it's at least 19, but I do agree. I think Thomas Bryant might not get in the game at Carlisle, but shortening the rotation also could just mean like second half, these guys don't get minutes. First half, I mean, if we're seeing AJ Mitchell in the first half of the Thunder, I would smash the over.
I like this because it's like, yeah, no, Carlisle's still probably going to play 8 to 9 guys. Mark Dagnall might play 11. Like he might play 11 in the finals game in serious minutes because Dags is a little bit of a psycho. Total cratered today. It was at 228 and a half when we did best bets yesterday. We're sitting at in the market currently. There is a 226 and it's consensus 226 and a half. Sharp money came in late. Yesterday it was all over. 92% tickets, 91% money currently. Sharp action on the under. So this it could just be a group came in and waited until the last second until they got the most value and decided to come in. Like there's all sorts of reasonable reasons. But Chris Raybon, what's your conspiracy theory for why the total has dropped 2 points on game day?
It's not a conspiracy theory, but the public likes to bet overs, right? I'm looking in the action app. I see there we're tracking 92% of bets on the over and 91% of money on the over. So the books just had the over a basket higher, and then now it's corrected. But if you want to look at it from okay, what are if the sharp action, like what are they looking at? I would guess it's the fact that James Capers, official tonight, 7 of his last 8 have gone under.
Nice. That's a good stat. That's a great stat by Chris Raybon. I always enjoy these segments because it's basically me and Chris in a fencing match where I'm trying to get him to engage with nonsense, and he parries me, being like, "No, Matt, I will not engage your nonsense." Gilles Gallant, what's your conspiracy theory for why the total dropped 2 points?
Well, as we're even talking, I'm trying to look around to see if there's any news about the starting lineup and if Hartenstein will be in the starting lineup over Kason Wallace. I haven't got anything definitive yet, but in theory, if Hartenstein is playing, that will slow down the pace a little bit on the Thunder side. They do pace lower from a shot perspective with Hartenstein in the starting lineup, but I mean, 2 points like that seems more like a big money move, like a bigger bet than it is like reflective of what's actually going to happen on the court. So, I mean, maybe the Tyrese Halliburton leg injury is a little bit worse than we're knowing right now. And for me, I don't feel comfortable with that conspiracy theory. I think the starting lineup one is probably more in favor of that. But again, even if Kason Wallace starts, that seems to be a little bit more of a drop than I would expected.
Kyle, are you surprised? I guess I'll ask you this. Are you surprised by a total drop this much, 2 points here on game day?
I mean, yeah, it is a little surprising. We haven't really seen too much of like the super late action, especially as dramatic as this, especially towards the end of the postseason. But I think both of those guys, gave great explanations as to why that could have happened. I wouldn't necessarily be too surprised if the starting lineup moved, just because Wallace really hasn't been playing all that well. It seems like he's starting and then they're looking for ways to get him out of the game. But I do think more likely the reason is just because of money coming in and the market sort of correcting.
Thunder defense
Okay.
good. Thunder defense good. Aaron Wiggins all-time heater last game. Like those two things correct. And Tyrese Halliburton hit a shot he never should have had. He never should have hit in game 1. So if you take like the median of the 2 games, it's right around where the total is.
It's great stuff by Chris Raybon. On the spread side, we're sitting at 5.5. There's a minus 105 on the Thunder minus 5.5 right now. So we anticipated a late move on Thunder with Michael Fiddle because the Sharps have basically hit it every Thunder game that we've seen late money coming in on OKC to move it. We're sitting at 52% of the tickets, 55% of the money. That's been a little bit more towards Pacers today. So you've seen this like a little bit of, I think, an adjustment back down here of a little bit of a bounce. It was interesting because on Tuesday it dipped to 5 and then moved back to 5.5 that same night, and that was kind of the momentary move. They've been fighting over 5.5 in the market. Doesn't look like we're gonna see 6 again at any point here. We'll see, but could be wrong. Maybe it comes in very, very late and just before tip we get to 6. We're all waiting on late money in there. I do have one interesting kind of just a trend that I wanted to look up in our Bet Lab system, which you can use using the pro systems. So 50% of, like I mentioned, the majority of the tickets right now are on the Thunder on the spread. 52% of the tickets, 55% of the money. On the money line, it's split even 50-50 with 64% of the money on Indiana. So I was curious, what does this look like when you have the majority of the money on a spread line and the majority of the money on the money line on the dog, right? On a favorite on spread, money on dog. The dog has done very well in those situations. The dog gets money line dollars and the favorite gets spread. The spread line is 55, 67, and 2 since 2003, 9 and 14, the last 2 seasons. So a little bit of a interesting trend that kind of suggests that the money line market is a little bit more directional than the spread, but we'll see how that goes because it's obviously better if you're going to bet the spread. You usually want to bet the money line because of what we've always referred to as the Matt Mitchell rule. I want to tell you about the Underdog lineup. Underdog is one of the best places to make picks during playoff basketball. While they score buckets, you could score cash. Underdog's one of the leading sports apps, and you can play right now in your state. Their app has over 100,000 five-star reviews and millions of players. To play, all you have to do is download the app and choose whether a player will go higher or lower on one of their stats. You can choose from things like points, assists, and so much more. Once your picks feel good, you can play with as little as $1. And if you get everything right, you can win up to 1,000 times your money. We got a dog in them lineup. A real quick three dog night. There we go. 3-dog night lineup here for game 3. Steals, blocks, rebounds. 1.5 steals higher for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander via Gilles Gallant. Pascal Siakam lower, 1.5 first quarter rebounds via Chris Raybon. And Andrew Nembhard higher, 1.5 steals. Nembhard does tend to pick up his defensive performance at home. It's also like the road team winds up making more mistakes on the road, so that makes sense. And it has been a pretty solid system of Nembhard doing a little bit better when at home versus on the road. Download the Underdog app and sign up with promo code Buckets100 to unlock a special offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit. That's promo code Buckets100. Again, that's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander over higher 1.5 steals. Pascal Siakam first quarter rebounds lower, and Andrew Nembhard higher on 1.5 steals. You get a very solid 4 times your money on a flex play with that at Underdog. Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in the state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Void in Colorado. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. In Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text Next Step to 53342. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-MY or text HOPE-MY. Let's do some best bets for game 3. We'll go around, we'll give our best bets, then we'll talk about them. Kyle Murray, what do you like in game 3 between the Pacers and the Thunder?
Yeah, I'm going back to SGA, taking his over 40.5 points and assists, and then I'm looking at Obi Toppin for a little bit of a bounce back game, over 9.5 points.
Nice. Gilles Gallant?
I'm going to take Benedict Mathurin over 8.5 points. I'm also going to take Cason Wallace under a half three-pointer at plus 150. And then I'm going to take a nice little 3-point long shot for this one, TJ McConnell to have 1 3-pointer at plus 310.
These limited events are like Gilles' complete bag. He hosts a touchdown show for us here at Action Network. I love it when he does these, like one little 3, no threes. It's amazing. Chris Raybon, what do you like tonight in game 3?
I'm going with J-Dub under 5.5 assists and Aaron Wiggins under 6.5 points. I like the under 5.5 as well at plus juice if that's what's available at your sportsbook.
Excellent. All right, let's start with SGA, Kyle. Over 40.5 PA. I think this is a bold one, given not really the points side of this, just the PA side is what I think is a little bit interesting here, given that OKC's shooting performance on the road. I'm very interested to hear about this. But you've got a projection. What do you think about SGA and why you're taking the over on 40.5 points and assists?
Yeah, for what it's worth, I mean the over on the points prop alone also projected pretty well for me. I have him for 37.6 points, so I'm fine going in just that direction as well. Totally agree. The potentials have looked a little shaky in the first 2 games of this series, so totally fine with that as well. But my model still has him for right around 7 assists, so it kind of matches the book there. So I'll take the over on the split combo here. When you look at what he's done so far in this series, cleared this number in both games, 41 in the first game, 42 in the second game. Doing a little bit of line shopping around. Some books are offering this at 41.5, so getting it at 40.5 at minus 110, minus 115, depending on where you look. Definitely seeing some value there. And when it comes down to sort of how I've seen the Pacers defending SGA, it seems like they're sort of willing to let him get his. They're kind of accepting that he's going to have his production, and that's what they're going to have to do. They're going to have to limit guys around him. But Carlisle said it after the last game. He scored 34 points in that game. Didn't play the last few minutes due to the blowout, and that's just kind of what it's going to be. He's going to score. You can just kind of lock him in for those 34 points coming into the game. So when you kind of have this sort of approach towards SGA, I do think he's going to be able to get his. And obviously, in terms of him being one of the better scorers in basketball, totally fine with going to an over on what is definitely an aggressive number. But again, my model likes him here at over 40.5 points and assists.
Okay. Let's go to J-Dub because I'm very excited for this. Chris Raybon, the official Action Network buckets play of the 2025 postseason is Jalen Williams over 4.5 assists. You're taking the under 5.5 assists because this number has been getting we've seen it slowly creep up since we first started taking it versus Memphis. Why do you like the under spot here at 5.5 minus 145?
So Kyle kind of alluded to it, but SGA is gonna have the ball in his hands more. I know that they do stagger the minutes. J Dub is gonna start the second quarter and the fourth quarter usually and run the offense there. But if you look at for example, the last game, you had just a really hot shooting game from the Thunder, but on the road, you kind of alluded to it. They're shooting under 30% from three in the postseason on the road. If you look at J-Dub himself, his potential assists, his teammates are converting for him at home in the postseason. 58% of his potentials. On the road, that drops to 46%. So overall, he's been under 5.5 in 13 of his 18 postseason games total. So any way you look at it, it's a good play. But on the road, 6 of 7, he's been under that 5.5 number. And he did drop from 10 potential assists in game one to just 6 in game two. And when a team like the Thunder go on the road, I just usually expect the ball to end up in the best player's hands the majority of the time. And I think they're going to kind of live and die by Shea. And J-Dub also tends to be a little more careless, sloppy with the ball on the road. I actually did take over on his turnovers as well at 1.5. If you follow me in the Action app, you can see that as well. But like his under assists, I just think it's not going to be as good of a shooting day for the Thunder here.
So I like this, but this is also a prime opportunity for me to bet what I've been wanting to bet all postseason, and I'm going to do it in this game. 10 of his 18 games, he's had five assists exactly. Exactly 5 assists. We're doing over 4.5, under 5.5. That's plus 400 in the market. Just exactly 5 dimes for Jalen Williams. And it probably won't get home because, as Chris mentioned, the Thunder might not shoot as well tonight in this kind of spot. Gilles Gallant. Oh man, you got so many fun ones to talk about. All right,
Which one do you want to start with?
Start me off with Casey Wallace under 0.5 3-pointers. No threes from Casey Wallace.
Correct. 0-5 in the series from 3 points so far. And I think this surprised me because when I was doing a little bit more of a deep dive on the Thunder, I was actually surprised that he's technically the worst 3-point shooter on the Thunder, statistically at least. So there are 7 players that average 20 or more minutes in the playoffs for OKC. And Cason Wallace ranks 6th, 29% on only 2.8 3-point attempts per game. And the only reason he's not 7th is because Isaiah Hartenstein is at 0% and he doesn't take 3-pointers. So let's just say bottom of the barrel. And also just kind of starting to see his role decline in this offense, at least from these first 2 games. Like he did start, but we saw midway through the second quarter and especially late in the fourth quarter where Alex Caruso, SGA, Dort, they're handling the majority of backcourt duties. Even Aaron Wiggins was getting more playing time as well. Isaiah Joe really cutting into those backcourt minutes. So I think Cason Wallace is going to be the odd man out here where he won't really probably be relied on from an offensive standpoint. They'll still want him to be able to handle some of the defensive abilities on like a Nesmith or a Halliburton. And again, I've been wrong about Coach Dag rotations before. I mean, you could just look at game 1 and game 2 shows where I thought Chet Holmgren was going to play 30 plus minutes and then he ends up playing 28 minutes and 23 minutes. So, but I just think Cason Wallace, based on what we've seen and how the emergence again of Alex Caruso and other backcourt pieces, I just think that he's going to be the odd man out. So even if he starts, I don't think he's going to play more than 23 minutes. And at most, he's going to probably take 2 3-point attempts. And I think he'll miss both of them. So at plus 150, I really love the value here.
So I am a initial investor on Cason Wallace Island along with Michael Fiddle. We have a very large section of the island preserved. We are building a nature sanctuary. There is a new resort going up on the west side of the island. It should be available for your reservations in the fall of 2026.
Well, when you build that koi pond, let me know, and then we'll start betting on the over on the 3-pointers here. But
Yeah,
right now, yeah.
And so he gets the starting nod, and Phil and I are like, our time has come. And then, oh no, he's just like a park bench. It's just like scenery. That's all he is on this. He's just like a set piece in the back. He's
I
an
also
extra.
think too, Matt, we'll find out pretty quickly, I think, whether he kind of gets the hook or the leash here, because I think if he struggles initially, maybe gets some foul trouble or just isn't shooting well, that could also play into a part where we just don't really see him as much in the second half as well. So I think we'll know pretty well by the end of the first quarter, I think, if whether or not this bet's going to feel good or not.
All right, let's go to Kyle Murray. How about Obi Toppin over 9.5 points here?
Yeah, I know this one is a little greasy, a little ugly, but like I mentioned, sounds like Britt Carlisle hinted towards maybe a little bit of a shorter rotation for this Pacers team. I think that could benefit Obi Toppin. He's taken 8+ shots in each of the games so far in this series. Obviously, when you look at his box scores, we're not going to get the game one where he went 5 for 8 from 3, but he's taken 5+ threes in each of the games in this series so far. It projects well for me again in this spot, and that's even when being fairly conservative on his minutes. I have him for about 20.5 minutes in this game, and he projects for 11.9 points. But I do think there's upside that he plays, low to mid 20s in this game. He played 25 minutes in game 1, obviously in game 2. The minutes dropped. I think that was mostly due to inefficient scoring and inefficient shooting. I mean, he shot 1 for 8 from the field. That's going to lead to a couple minutes being taken off your stints there. But again, at that 20.5 minute projection, projecting to go over this number. And again, like I said, I do think he has upside for a few extra minutes here, even on the projection that I have for him here. So I like Obi Toppin over 9.5 points.
Okay. I like this. I do think Toppin actually works well. I think one of the problems that Rick's had is trying to get the right lineups at the right times. And that's one of the biggest reasons why the small ball thing, it hasn't worked in the starter minutes for OKC. It's worked in the bench minutes by putting Hartstein up against the small ball lineup. I'm going to be curious to see like how Rick adjusts to that and how he shifts his rotation around to kind of counter that. I think we're going to see more in and out kind of guys as the series goes along, and I could see Obi playing a big part of that because I do think Obi brings a lot to the table. Like they need his size, they need his length, and they need his floor spacing. So I actually still like this Obi Toppin over 9.5 points here for Kyle Murray. Chris Raybon. Aaron Wiggins under 6.5 points. Fading the heater. No heroes in back-to-back games, huh?
Yeah, not on the road. This is just one I love doing in the playoffs. More often than not, it tends to work out. So before the game 2 heater, he had 5 or fewer points in each of his last 5 games, 7 of his last 8. And I do think Indiana has adjustment opportunities here because he's had 0 points combined against his 2 most frequent matchups, which are Shepherd and Matherin off the bench. Also, no points when Naismith is on him. So you really have, he really just went off on like all these mismatches and different things like that, and transition. But Thunder on the road, a little harder to do. Shooting percentages could go down. So really like to fade him. And I think he could just, he played himself into more minutes with that heater in the last game. I think he could start out like that maybe in the first half. He'll get in the game a little earlier, maybe not. But if he doesn't go on a heater, he's usually around like 10, 12 minutes. Whereas he got up there a little higher than that in the last game. So that's kind of correlated with, Wallace's minutes a little bit, what we're talking about earlier. So that's something to watch. But yeah, I just think that this is just a regression play here, regression spot for Wiggins.
I'm going to be very curious to see how the Pacers defend this tonight in terms of, I think 6 of the 8 assists that SGA had in game 2 were out of pick and roll. And they were just like, they did not do a good job of executing their coverage, nor did they do a good job closing out. And they got a bad shooting performance for them defensively. His OKC shot exceptionally well in that one. So I do think they'll be better in some of those areas. I wonder if Wiggins is one that they're going to be like, guys, we got to stay home. We got to stay home on Aaron Wiggins in particular. Make Lou Dort 19% on the road and make him shoot. Make Alex Caruso shoot. Make some of these other guys, make some Casey Wallace, make some of these other guys shoot in this game and not necessarily Aaron Wiggins. I like that under in 6.5 for Chris Raybon for Aaron Wiggins points. Gilles, let's go back and let's talk Benedict Mathurin. Ryan Smith, our guy in the comments, he's with us on just about every game. He has announced that if we own Wallace Island, he says he's the king of Mathurin Marina. So he's got to play on Mathurin overs in this game. Talk to him a little bit about why you like Benedict Mathurin over 8.5 points in this game.
Yeah, because I was looking for a way to invest in him, and I was looking at the PRA market and realizing like his PRA is at 12.5. And let's just talk about why I like the points first, because first off, he's gone over the points in 10 of 17 playoff games, coming back home, coming off a 14-point game in game two. And those small ball lineups that you alluded to, I think that's actually where Benedict Mathurin will actually benefit from that. Because one of the things that he does really well, and I would say right now, I think he does the best on the Pacers, is he gets to the free throw line a lot. Like he's second on the team in free throws per game, despite being seventh in minutes. When they play home playoff games, he's first on the team in free throws per game. So going back to that PRA, it's that set at 12 and a half instead of 8.5 for the points. But when I was looking at in the 10 games where he ended up going over these points, where he scored 9 or more points, he went over the 12 and a half PRA in 8 of them. But that's the whole key, is that he's got to go over the points here. And you're starting to see with some of the playing time shifting a bit, the rebound chances and the potential assists are going down. In this point, I would rather just bank on Benedict Mathurin coming in and looking for his shot immediately. And I think at 9 points, I think this should be closer to 10 plus. At 8.5, getting that around minus 115, I love that value.
Yeah, I'm a little gun shy because he had some real trouble. I thought he was going to be great in game two because he's got a profile of doing well, especially when the Pacers get blown out. That's when he tends to come in and put up some points. And that kind of happened, and yet he didn't do well. And when I was watching, like that second unit's having a real problem being able to score. Their offense just absolutely dies when Tyrese is off the court. I think, like I mentioned with Rick, changing some of the rotations. I think they're going to put more ball handlers on the court, and that's actually really good for Mathurin scoring because Matherin's really good when he gets to attack players out of position, pump fake drive, get guys a little bit out. When he's going up against a set defense, it gets ugly because Matherin's just not like Matherin's able to beat normal human defenses Benedict Mathurin can score on. Unfortunately, the Thunder are made of demons from hell, and that's a little bit tougher to get the ball to go down. So I think it's a good prediction of an adjustment here. I'm a little hesitant because I'm scared, but I do think this is a good play at over 8.5 points.
I
And
do think just the free throw rate in general, I think is something just really to monitor, especially coming back home where I do think they're going to get a bit of a friendlier whistle tonight in
yeah.
game three. That doesn't necessarily mean that I think they're going to win. I just think as a result that you'll see free throws go up for the Pacers in general. So I think floats all boats. That's why I like the Matherin play as well.
Back to
You
you
want
for
to talk,
TJ McConnell.
you want to talk about McConnell? All right, here we
One
go.
little three, Jill.
That's all we
One
need for
little three
glory.
plus 310. Talk to me.
Well, because I was looking at the 3-point market, and Obi Toppin was, that's why I like that Kyle at least got the points prop out there just for him, because Toppin was probably the guy that I would probably lean to from a 3-point ladder standpoint, but just the odds by the time I got to it, they got smoked. So I just wanted to pivot over to TJ McConnell, who has now hit a 3-pointer in 4 straight playoff games. Now, again, the attempts, I'm going against my 3-point rule here of trying to get a lot of attempts from a 3-point shooter, only 2 attempts in 2 games. But when you go back and check game 1 and game 2, those threes are about as wide open as an NBA player gets. And I think that's key because the Thunder kind of want to leave him open because he has been abusing them driving to the rim and he's just crushed them when he gets to the hoop. So I think they're going to dare McConnell again to make a 3. I kind of had expected odds around plus 250. When you shop around, it's around plus 240, plus 250. So I feel anything over plus 300 is decent value on this prop. And like you said, it just takes one.
It does, in fact, just take one, which is why I'm going to nab this and we're going to run it into our parlay for the night. We got a juicy one. 3 legs at 10-1. We need one TJ3. Uno. One, just knock down 1-3 for us, TJ. 9 plus Mathurin points from Gilles Gallant. And then we're going to take the under 6.5 on SGA assists. I know Kyle's got him projected for, I think, 7.6, Kyle.
Yeah, 7.5. Yeah.
If that struggles, I think it's probably going to be on that side of it. Chris Raybon, I assume you're down with me on here on the under 6.5 assists on SGA because you actually brought this to me. Why do you like the SGA assists under prop here? Hopefully he can score enough for Kyle to hit on the PA and we get the under on the 6.5 assists.
Yeah, so I actually have a bet on him to lead the series in assists. So I mean, I don't want him to go too far under, but I do think under is the right play here. If you look at just the home road splits again, the Thunder just haven't shot as well around him when they're on the road, and that's impacted his assists. He's been under this, under 6.5 in 4 of the 7 postseason games and on the road. And when they're at home, I mean, that's when he's really getting, his 7+ assist games, his 8+ assist games. 7 of 11, he's been 7+ at home so just massive splits. And then the potentials really haven't been great. For the series, he's right around, he's averaging 5.5 assists per game. And, the potentials I think are, I think it's around 10-ish. So nothing too crazy here for SGA. But at the end of the day, I think the way they're going to play him is, they're going to try to stay home on the shooters. I don't think Wiggins is going to have as hot of a night. I think SGA got at least one assist to Wiggins. That might be at 0 for this one. So just kind of playing the home road splits. I expect him to just have to, kind of will them to a victory here, get to the free throw line and do it that way versus being able to just kind of spray it around to the shooters.
Chris, on being on SGA assists under or assist leader for the series, not what I want to hear as somebody that has Jalen Williams to lead the series at a big number. Not, and he's on the under on J-Dub here. Not comforting for me. Let's do a little open run. Let's talk about some of the bets we've got in the comments here at youtube.com/the Action Network. Taylor Purpura, by the way, who had the absolute comment of he's the MVP of our comment section tonight because he did say over he wanted an analysis on the over 8.5 coaches that the Knicks will interview and get denied. So shout out to Taylor. Taylor likes SGA 30 points and the OKC money line in this one. Chris, SGA is so consistent with scoring 30 points. Is that how much do you feel like that's correlated for an outcome on the spread or money line tonight? Where does if SGA doesn't score 30, can the Thunder? I know they can. Would you think Thunder win? Is it like for me? I kind of think like, look, SGA is going to get between 30 and 35 points every single night, win, lose, whatever. So I don't think it's it's hugely correlated. What's your kind of feeling on that, Chris?
Yeah, I actually like it on the road because I think on the road he has to do more of the heavy lifting. So at home, you could see it going under because number one, he's gonna, he'll probably be more willing to move the ball around to all the shooters who tend to have more success at home. And on the road, I just think it's going to have to be more him hitting the midi, him at the free throw line. And so at home, you could kind of see, like we've talked about this all postseason long. At home, the Thunder just blow people out, run them straight off the court. But when they're on the road, the games are a lot closer. So if you look, he's been over 30 in all but 5 postseason games. And 2 of those were road losses. Only one of them was a road win. He only was under 30 in one of their road wins. So if they're winning on the road, he's almost certainly getting 30 plus.
Andrew Laws has been with us a lot on these shows. Says iHeart over 1.5 assists and Caruso under 2.5 assists. Kyle, can you pull up your assist projections real quick for me and get me an idea on those? The iHeart assist thing, the Pacers continue to kind of really do a good job of shutting down the interior passing. You just don't see a lot of they're not starting the bigs together, so you're seeing them on the floor for less. And that's a lot of the iHeart assist is big to big passing there. What do your projections have for iHeart and Caruso on assists?
Yeah, Hartenstein is right at the number 1.9-ish
Okay.
in terms of his projection. And then you said Caruso for the other one?
Yeah.
Caruso also right around that number. I'm for 2.95.
Okay. Gilles Gallant, since you're the king of 3-point bettings, how about Andrew Nemhard, 1.5 threes plus 125 from a user called Katie and Kyrie?
Well, it's not that I don't think he can do this, but I think the other thing too is I was really bullish on Nemhard threes in the last series. I don't really think that that's part of his game, and I'm not really sure if that's something that I would feel great about at this point. Because even if you look at game one, he ended up hitting 2 threes. One of them was a clear Harden clone type of three that was clearly a huge three in the moment. But it was really just that sharp of a margin of whether or not he was going to go over his 3-point prop. And then game two, we didn't see it get there, right? So I think right now it's appropriately priced, considering that we saw it in game one around plus 160, and then it was around plus 145 in game two. I'm seeing like plus 120, plus 130 right now. It's just not enough value for me. But at the same time, I feel like somebody on the Pacers is going to hit 3-pointers tonight. Is it Opie Toppin? Is it Benedict Mathurin? Is it Andrew Nemhard? I'm not really sure, but I just know that right now at that price, I don't love it as much considering where we saw it prior to game one.
Okay, that's going to do it for Buckets. Appreciate you guys being with us. Thanks for joining us. Hit us with a like on the way out here at youtube.com/the Action Network. Helps us out so much. A lot of folks watching us with today. Big crowd. I hope you guys enjoy game 3. We'll be back for game 4 best bets tomorrow. You can check that out in the feed, and then we'll be set for game 5 or game 4 rather on Friday. And we'll be back for that show pregame 6:30 Eastern at youtube.com/the Action Network. My thanks to Gifford Gould for helping us out with production today. My thanks to Gilles Gallant, GDog5000, Kyle Murray at KMurDFS, and Chris Raybon. Thanks for everybody for popping in the comments. We'll see you guys again next time. Till then, let's get buckets.